Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryant Smith, and welcome to Enlighten, Empowered, Evolve. I hope everybody's doing well. Wait, I have faith that everybody's doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again, as I always am, because it excites me to talk to people and just to learn something and to just exchange positive energy with people from around the world. So I'm so excited. I have a very extraordinary guest today. After reading his bio, I can attest to that. His name is Darcy Patrick. And before he tells you anything, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So, Darcy Patrick, for 25 years or more, Darcy was a professional bass player playing in many types of bands, teaching and making a living from music. At the same time, he was also working full-time in a music store, doing repairs to guitars and basses, as well as managing the store. In 2013, the perfect storm happened to his life and pushed him over the edge. Wow. Darcy had struggled for over 38 years from depression and had to make a call to help, which was one of the most difficult things he had ever done. After a month of intense therapy, his therapist started giving homework. Darcy would hand it in weekly. They would talk about what he had written and worked on changing his negative thoughts, changing the way he was seeing the world, and it was working in ways he never dreamed possible. Darcy's therapist told him he was a natural writer and that if he wrote a book, he could change thousands of people's lives who suffered in silence, who were too afraid to reach out and get help. 4 years later, he released his first book, Why I Run, my story of how I won my life back from the darkness of depression. I could keep going. There's a lot of amazing things, but we're going to talk about it. There's other amazing things. He went to write a creative writing for the mind, body, and soul, my guided meditation. Use meditation as a therapist tool to focus your overactive mind. And I can go on and on. It's just so many amazing things. How are you doing today, Darcy?
I am doing excellent, and I'm very happy and excited to be talking with you tonight.
Yes, I just wanted to express my sincerest gratitude for you sharing a moment of your time with me on this platform, because I firmly believe that time is one, if not the most important asset that we have, other than our health and our life, but time, because we only have a certain amount of it here in the physical form. And you chose to spend a segment of your time here with me, and I appreciate that. So let's just dive right into it. What resonates with me thus far, just from reading your amazing bio, is just, it never gets old. Even within myself, I had to go through something that pushed me to that edge to get me to start opening my eyes. Now, you told us a bit about how that came about, but I want to hear about it a little bit more, a little bit deeper. So how did this transformation come about?
Yeah. So, like I said in the bio, I had struggled, with depression for such a long time. And I was a really good actor, and people who struggle are always, really good actors. And so I kept my mental health issues under wraps, for 38 years. And, when I got help, I had hit the bottom, right? So I knew that it was time. Like you said, time, we all have time. So my time that I spent struggling was over, and it was time for me to learn from what I had experienced.
Right.
So I could better myself from it, to stop seeing the negative side of the 38 years and start seeing the positive side, because there's an old saying, that I really like. And it's the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Right. Right.
And I really like this saying because, man, I was one of the most stubborn people that you would ever meet.
Right.
And nothing could ever get through to me. I saw the world in black and white, and it was either my way or the highway. And once I started therapy, I realized that I was this stubborn and that I was this negative, and that the only way that I could ever change was to have every possible hurdle thrown at me to push me in the direction that I was supposed to go in.
And you
So
know
I
what?
started,
Oftentimes, excuse me if I may
no,
interject a bit. Oftentimes, what I've learned, especially within my journey of awareness and personal development, that's how it happens. But what's amazing me is, and a question I would like to ask you, what caused you to go seek help? If you were so stubborn, what changed for you to go start looking for that help?
so my workplace changed in a major way. And I was hiding my depression and my mental health issues so well, but my workplace got purchased. We were a family-run music store, and we got purchased by a large musical retailer. And so it was game time for me. I had to start taking on every job that I could possibly take on so I could hide in plain sight. So I went from just doing guitar repairs to managing the store, to shipping and receiving, to doing the scheduling. You name it, I would do it because I felt that that was how I could hide in plain sight. If nobody saw my weaknesses, then
Staying busy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I could be valued, right? I was always looking for outside approval, always
Right.
looking for people to value me. So I hit, like, I physically was a mess. I was crying all the time whenever I was left alone. And when I was on runs, when in between sets on gigs, you name it, I was an emotional mess. So, one day my workload was like ridiculous. And like, this was the turning point where I like left my office. I walked right out at the back of the store, and I was going to walk that day till I found a place to jump from. And, I took one step forward and I stopped myself, and I turned around and I walked back into the store, and I went into my office. And when I went in, the door closed behind me, and I turned, and then one of my employees, one of my friends, who had been witnessing my steady decline, was standing there, and he looked at me and he said, "Man, you're done." And he said, "You're not leaving this office, working on another guitar, until you make a call for help."
Right.
So sometimes we romance the bottom, right? We make it bigger than what it is.
Right.
And I looked down at the ground and I said, "Holy crap, this is it. Like right now, I have to make a choice." And I was like, you know what? There's something I haven't done. I mean, I've been around at that point for like 38 years. There was something that I hadn't done yet, and I wanted to know what it was. So I went over to my computer and I just, quite honestly, I Googled depression therapists in St. Catharines, where I live. And I read through a bunch of profiles, and I found a lady who I liked, and I made the call. And I remember walking into my very first session, and I sat down and I talked for the very first time. And I was honest for the first time in my life. And it felt so good to actually
Getting that off of you.
getting it out for the first
Yes.
time, like, to not act, right? To like, to be completely vulnerable and completely tell what was going on. So I told her, how much acting I've been doing, how much of a failure I was, and how I really wanted to disappear, which was my way at that time of saying end my life. And, she used this great analogy, and she said, "Darce, you're not a failure. Just showing up here today is proof of that." And she told me
Yes.
that for all those years, I was putting all my emotion into a barrel, a nice big wooden barrel. And the barrel was filled to the top, and there was a beach ball being pressed down on it. All my emotions were overflowing over the sides, out of control. And she told me that she was going to teach me to drain that barrel.
Wow.
I was going to start to see life differently. I was going to start to live my life differently. And I was going to learn to be happy. And I believed her. And so I started like going once a week to therapy. And I was amazed because I was bad in school. Like, I mean, a 50% or 55% was my jam. Like, I barely passed anything because I had zero self-esteem. And I never thought I could ever write anything. And she introduced me to a bunch of therapies. And the only way for me to apply the tools that I was being taught to use was through written word. And I was like blown away. Like, I could express myself. I could write out my emotions, why I was feeling them. I could see the world in different ways. And it all came from putting my pen to paper. So, you know, she said to me one day, "You're a natural writer. You got to write a book." And I laughed like so loud. I said, "You got to be kidding me. How could anyone like me ever write a book?"
Right.
And, you know, she told me, no. She goes, "That's the reason why you should write a book, is because you're not a doctor.
Yes. Yes.
You're not a therapist, you're just a normal guy. And if you write a book, you'll resonate with people.
A lot of people.
And you'll reach people, you know." And the amazing thing that happened, which was like, you know, months of someone pushing me, was, you know, I released the book and I thought I'd sell 30 or 40 to my friends and family out of pity.
Right.
In 1 year, I sold close to 2,000 copies of that book.
Wow.
Independently. By myself.
Right.
Right. I'm self-published.
Amazing.
But the cool thing was that people started to come into my place of work like 2 or 3 times a day to talk to me about their struggles with mental health. Right. And the age groups were ranging from like teenagers all the way up to people that were in their 80s. They felt comfortable with me because I was on the same level as them.
Yes. You inspired.
Yeah.
Just like you're doing now. And I want you to finish. And this is definitely all about you today. But I wanted to share this with you because we're in this moment.
I love it.
The same thing, man, with me. I went to therapy at Kaiser Hospital. I attended classes because I didn't know what to do. It got overwhelming, you know, just life inside my mind got overwhelming. And I didn't have at that particular moment, I did not have the tools within myself to do it. So, man, you're not alone. And I've shared this before, and I have to say this. I have been probably crying out for help or needing help for a long time. But because of the culture I grew up in, especially people of color like myself, we always look at therapy. Oh, no, you don't do that. Those people do that. You're crazy if you do that. And no, man, that's not right. If the best thing you can do is acknowledge that you need help and then seek it instead of trying to self-medicate like a lot of us do and hold it in here like a lot of us do and act like you said. I'm just vibing off what you're talking about because it's so real. Pretending like everything's okay and holding it in there, and all you're doing is doing yourself more damage till you get to that point where you're ready to just give up and just say the hell with this life, you know. And I totally resonate with you, and I'm right there with you, man. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank
you. And this is why I love it, and this is why what I do works.
Right.
Okay. Like everything that I do is always centered on making people know that they're not alone.
Right.
Because the way I feel, the way you feel, the way everybody feels is all the same. Like emotion's universal.
Right.
And as soon as we can like talk openly, just like I was sharing a tiny bit of my story and it resonated directly with you.
Right. Because I can visualize, excuse me, but I can visualize myself like, man, I felt along the lines of the same way. Just things were happening. I really don't want to name, everything particular, but things within family, my children, just things were just imploding. And I'm taking responsibility that I, caused that, a lot of that, or most of it, the things that were happening to me. It was because of my mindset, my decisions, things that were causing that. But at the same time, I didn't know it and I didn't know how to stop it. So, yeah, I'm just like you. I'm thankful I got to that point where I started being open enough and just, I don't know, really want to say mature, but just I grew enough to the point where I didn't have anyone intervene like you per se, but something, I can't remember what exactly happened at the time that to cause me to make that call. But I'm just thankful I did, because my life just took a totally different turn. One step at a time, things just start changing. And then, here I am,
And isn't it amazing how when you spend when you spend your time in the darkness,
right,
you're always wanting and striving and wanting and grasping at things that don't mean anything.
right.
And then as soon as you give in, the true purpose slowly unfolds itself naturally without any effort.
Exactly.
Right? Because
Totally
it means something, as
yes.
opposed to before it never meant anything.
Yes.
Right? It was always, I have to do this to get this. I have to do this to get this. I have to do this to get this. You can sit there and you can want yourself to death and never be fulfilled whenever you get those things that you think you need.
Yes.
There's always the next thing.
Right. It's fleeting.
Right? Yeah, it's very fleeting, right? So once you start living, that honest, truthful life and being completely honest about everything that's happening, the puzzle pieces just slowly
come together. Yes. I can say at this particular time, I really know the meaning of really enjoying life. And like you said, it's not attached to things. Yes, I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, I want things, but at the same time, that's not where my focus in lies. That's not where my happiness in lies, because things can fall away and be taken away. But the true, my true passion and my self-love that radiates out to other people, and my enjoying talking to people like yourself, you can't take that away. That's free. Not fleeting,
And it's free.
Yeah, just this right here to me is a gift. Is a gift right here. And this right here is just talking to you and listening to you is enhancing my energy in my thought current. And you just, that right there is beautiful to me. I would be lying to say, oh, I don't want to take beautiful trips, or I don't want some toys or something like that. But it's a difference now. That's not what I need. And that's not what I'm waiting for in order to be content, in order to be happy. That's not it. And I think those things fall into place. They do. When you take your focus off, you will have everything that's meant for you, that's in alignment with you. I believe that.
Yep.
But at the same time, I resonate with what you said. I finally got to a point where now I can say, look in the mirror and say, I love you, Luke Bryan Smith. And I could never do that before. If I ever tried to do that, it would feel like, oh. Now I can say it. Now I can look at myself and say that. And, like I said, I don't want to take away from anything that you're saying, but I just totally resonate with what you're saying, because, and it does not surprise me that your book did and is still doing so well, because when people are, they resonate with real stories. Not saying that, that people, other people that come from different angles can't generate interest. We all know that they can, if you got enough money and enough, commercials and things like that, and you seem like you're up here, you can generate that. But people are never, it's always going to it's never going to get old for people to resonate with authentic stories, and especially a story where someone was down here and they pulled themselves up, because everybody wants answers on how they can do that themselves. Everybody has some type of struggle or something that they are trying to overcome, you know?
Yeah, and they need to know how, right?
How, right?
Yeah, and that's where our personal stories and the things that we can share can help people. I mean,
Right.
and that's what I base, like, with the creative writing for the Mind, Body, and Soul, my second book. The reason why I wrote that was because of all the people that I was meeting, right? And because of all the stories that I heard. I wanted to sit down, and I was like, man, how can I help? How can I reach more people? Well, I can teach them, right? Because all the time, when you're struggling, people have great ideas for you. They say great things. They say, like, you need to let go.
Right.
Show me how. You need to set boundaries.
Right.
How do I set it?
Yes.
You need to forgive.
Yeah. How do I do that?
How do I do that? You need
Yes.
to accept things in your life.
Right.
How?
How?
Like, everybody always had these great ideas,
Right.
but nobody delivered on how to.
Right.
So, all my books, I want to show people what worked for me.
Right.
And how I did it, so you can apply it yourself, right?
Right.
So the creative writing book, I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to show people how I used writing as a therapeutic tool. And then hopefully they can take it and they can, like, make it their own, right? Because that's the only way therapy ever works, is when we can embrace it, make it something we enjoy doing, as opposed to something that we're told we have to do. Because, as you know, when we're told we have to do things, we don't want to do it, right? And when that book came out, I got asked, to turn it into a 4-week class for a place called the Family Mental Health Support Network of Niagara, where I'm from. And, I immediately said yes,
Right.
because I'm a musician. I never turned down a gig, right? So I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I had no idea what I was doing when it came to creating a course, to using PowerPoint, to doing any of this stuff. But so I sat down and I created the creative writing for the Mind, Body, and Soul course to go along with the book. And man, I've taught over 500 people this course.
Wow.
In
Let me pause just right there,
3 years.
just to elaborate a bit. I this is what I do. But throughout your experience, it's just so amazing, this stuff that you hadn't even did before. You see how it just flowed like that, and just you start learning and growing even through the process. I mean, you hadn't did that before. You haven't put anything like that before. It never gets old to hear that, how people ask me all the time, oh, how'd you get to this point? How'd you do this? It just happens when you're following your passion. And another thing I wanted to say is, not to make light of anything that you or anyone else or myself has been through, but at the time you didn't know that and this is not my saying, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but it goes a little something like this. You thought when you think that you've been buried, you've been planted. So what I'm trying to say is, you had to go through that stuff to become who you are today, and still becoming. You had to go through that. And I'm not trying to say I'm glad you went through it. I'm not going to go that far, but you had to go through that. You had to become the extraordinary, powerful person through your own experiences, that's able to talk to people from your own perspectives, that has actually went through it, not just read about it. Not saying anything's wrong with reading about things and teaching people from that point, but there's something just so authentic and special about being able to speak from firsthand and inspire people through your own story like that.
And that's why it works.
That's why it works.
And that's why it works, because we need to have people identify
right
with what you went through in order for them to put two and two together, for them to see the connection, the human connection, right? That's there between all of us. And when we break the wall down, mental health and stigma, when we break it, people automatically realize that they're not alone. And then if I can make something that's so human and so relatable and so easy to do, then people get inspired to change.
Right. And like you said, real quick, the stigma, and that's exactly what I was telling you before I sought assistance and help. It's that stigma. You think people are going to laugh at you. You're embarrassed. You don't know how to ask for help. My family, our mindset, we weren't taught like that. You just pray and God will fix it. You go see the pastor or something, he'll fix it, he'll pray over you. No, man. I mean, we have therapists for a reason. We have, and mental health is serious. And you can go through points, anyone can go through a point in their life where it gets overwhelming. And if you try to hold that in with yourself, to yourself, that's no good. You got to get that out and speak to somebody with some, some experience and training on that. I advise that for anyone that's going through something, just do that. That's your starting point. And then things will come from there. And it's beautiful. I want to ask you again, before we keep moving, the name of your book again. I want to make sure that people go out there and get that book. What's the name of your book?
The first book's Why I Run.
I Run by
my story of
Darcy.
how I won my life back from the darkness of depression.
Yes. Why I Run. And you got a second book.
Creative Writing for the Mind, Body, and Soul.
Creative Writing for the Mind, Body, and Soul. Okay.
Yeah. And then we talk about growing into things that you don't expect, right?
Right.
So like my therapist started to introduce me to meditation and mindfulness.
Same here.
And I laughed. I literally laughed. And I said, this is hippie, trippy BS. And there's no way I believe in it. There's no way that it works.
Right.
And there's no way that it can help me.
Yes.
And guess what? Meditation and mindfulness became the cornerstone.
Right.
To my recovery from my depression.
Right.
In fact, it led to my third book, My Guided Meditation.
Now, is that out now?
Yeah, using meditation as a therapeutic tool.
Everybody get these books. You know what? When I get off this this segment, I'm gonna order at least your first book and start from there.
Yeah, and like we said, like all of a sudden, the one thing that I laughed off became like the cornerstone to my therapy. And it's something that I had to grow into, and learn how to use with an open mind, right? Like I always say, when people are struggling, there's blinders, right?
Right.
And these blinders go up and we only see this little slice in the middle of what is actually there for us. And when we take the blinders off, our whole world changes when we start accepting things that we didn't accept before, when we start seeing the world in different ways. And meditation was huge for me to see things differently, and to progress.
Yes. Excuse me for looking down, but I'm actually doing something authentic here. I'm ordering your book right now. Is this it here?
That's Why I Run. That's it.
Okay. I'm ordering that right now while we're here. Man. Buy now. Okay. So yes, I mean, you got me sold on that book, man. Just after I heard your story, just like I said, it never gets old. Listening to someone that have been through, their versions of their adversity, their wars, their demons, and just to rise out of that just, I mean, it's just so inspirational. It just never gets old because, especially after you've lived life a while. A lot of people don't know it, but I'm 50 years old now. And when you live life for a while, you know that life, I mean, inside here, it can be hard. We can make it hard, put it that way. And when we have the tools, we can make it a lot better, a lot easier. Things can flow a lot better. And that's why I was inspired to create this platform so that I could connect with people, extraordinary people like yourself, inspirational people like yourself. And it's just, even just talking to you, like if this was just a conversation that was just between me and you, it's like food for my soul and for my brain, just listening to things that are just uplifting and if I'm making any sense.
You are. And the cool thing is that it always works both ways, Matt.
Right.
You know, when we give, we receive back, right? So making you feel that way makes me feel good too. And that's what always inspires me to do what I'm doing, you know, is because.
Yeah. So the order placed it's coming. It'll be. Man. Yeah. So I got it.
Oh man, I can't wait I wish I could sign it for you. I wish I wasn't way up here in Canada.
Oh, it's okay. The thing is, when I read that book, I know I'm going to have to reach out to you and then and get you back on here and that we can talk more in depth about that book after I read it. I mean, not to give it away to everyone. We don't want to do that, but just maybe a few points that stood out to me.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's your fourth book.
No, that was my third. My fourth book is The Big Let Go. Letting go of control is taking control.
Oh my gosh.
The Big Let Go I wrote, and the whole premise behind the title was case, you know, like on social media, everybody's on social media.
Right.
And people will post this, like I said, people love to give advice. And they'll post this picture of someone standing on a beautiful beach with a blue sky, and they got their arms stretched out, and just above it says, just let go.
Right.
Teach me how.
Yes.
Because a picture ain't going to do it. And visiting the beach ain't going to do it. Right.
Yes.
So the title for The Big Let Go was inspired because, man, I needed to learn to let go. So
show me how to let go.
Exactly. So I wanted to share the tools that I had used to let go of the parts of my life that weren't serving me anymore. So I wanted to teach people how to forgive, how to set boundaries, how to change their perspectives. I wanted to give actionable detail on all of these things so people could let go and move forward. You know, and I wrote this book in like probably the worst time that the world's ever seen. Right. So I was like laid off from my job at the music store when COVID-19 came. And every course that I was teaching for all these mental health organizations and all these addiction organizations got wiped clean. Wow. And I was sitting at home feeling sorry for myself and, you know, a little destroyed. And I was like, you know what? This is a gift. This time off is a gift. So guess what? I'm going to write The Big Let Go, and I'm going to release it a year ahead of time than what I had planned. So I sat down and I wrote like 4 hours every single day. And I finished The Big Let Go a year ahead of schedule. I also turned it into a 6-week course that I started teaching immediately before the book was even released for the Canadian military.
Wow.
To help people who were struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, and I also decided I was going to take a course because I wanted to be more than what I was. And so I was always bad in school. I never got good grades. So I said, how can I challenge myself and go a little bit further than what I've already done? So I took a course to be a peer support worker.
Wow. And
I aced it. I couldn't believe
it. Let me stop you right there. You know why you aced that? Because your heart was in it. And you were in it. You weren't in to to a traditional whatever education that it wasn't interesting to you.
Yeah.
But this is your passion. You had a passion for this. That's why you aced it.
Yeah, when we follow our passions,
Right,
without judgment, do what our hearts tell us for the right reasons. Like I said, the puzzle pieces, they come together.
I can attest to that.
So yeah, so I aced this class, and then this high profile job listing came up at one of Canada's biggest mental health hospitals in Hamilton, Ontario, as a peer support worker, and I applied for it.
Not by coincidence either.
Yeah, I applied for it. I took a chance, and I nailed an interview, and I've been working as a peer support worker at the hospital with both like inpatients and outpatients for the past 8 months now. So you see how it all just when we allow it to happen,
wow,
do things honestly, full-heartedly, the things roll.
Yes,
they roll
yes.
Yeah, they roll into each other, they flow into each other.
Yes.
If I didn't write the first book, I wouldn't have met people and heard their stories.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have wanted to help them, to teach them my tools. So I wrote creative writing for the mind, body, and soul. I didn't believe in meditation or mindfulness.
Right.
But once I started therapy, I learned about it and I wroed about it.
Well, I didn't write about it, but that's how I got into meditation too.
Right? And so
yeah,
it all rolled, right? So then,
yep.
So then I learned to let go of all the things in my life that were holding me back.
Right.
And it inspired me to write another book.
Wow. And you're going to keep writing books.
I
can see that.
Book 5's over halfway done. And it's called Managing Wellness. And it's a guide to achieving and maintaining a mind, body, and soul connection.
Balance.
Yeah. And then I think I might take a break after that one comes up.
Yeah. Rejuvenate, that as life is flowing, you'll get more ideas, whatever you put your mind to. And like you said, you found your purpose. And as long as you're within that purpose, that alignment of your purpose, things are going to continue to flow however you want them to, however you see them, however you your intentions are. And yes, it's so beautiful. And another beautiful thing is I don't really want to go back to the past, but I want to go back just a little bit, just to make this point.
Yeah.
You would have never saw yourself or thought when you were going through that time that you were going to be not only a 5-time author, but a 1-time author. You wouldn't even thought that. Like, what do I have to offer?
It's funny because people say, if you could go back in time and if you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell that person? I always say, I tell them nothing. Because if I change anything, I won't be where I am. So if I had a chance to go back and say something to my younger self, I would just go up to him and go, "You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing."
That's exactly how I feel. I mean, and I want to focus on the good, but there are people that even close to me that don't understand that. Oh, you wouldn't do it different? No. Man, well, you're not very remorseful. No, this was the path I was supposed to have. No, you didn't have to, this was the path I was supposed to have to get me to where I am now. And just like you, this platform came about because of COVID too. I don't really like to even say the name, but because of the C word too, because I was looking for something else to do and locked up, couldn't really go anywhere. Like, wait a minute, I got the whole internet that I can connect with people and talk to people. I'm not stuck. So this came about right here.
Yeah.
So
and what a wonderful thing, right?
Yes.
Like what a wonderful thing for you, for your guests, and for people who are watching, right? So like if we can always look at like everything that happens to us in a positive light, that's when we grow. And some people, like you said, I feel sorry for them. And that's why I'm writing this book, because some people will go through their entire lives and never see that.
Yes.
Some people will go through their entire lives and never realize what's important, what happiness is, and that there has to be a full mind, body, and soul connection in order for you to live your life happily.
Exactly. And everything that we grow through, the processes we go through, we can always find some type of some value from it to propel us. And that's one of the things that I'm so thankful for right now, the way I look at life, that it's never I'm stuck. It's never, I'm human. So some things, I go through little things, but I know how to pick myself up quickly, and I'm equipped with the tools.
That's the key, right? Because before, when we were down and it had its grip on us,
right,
we wouldn't even notice it. In fact, we would embrace it. Right. We would say,
feed it more power.
Yeah. I like to say we romance it, right? Where it's like you take like a bad thing and you roll it around in your head and you make it bigger and stronger and badder. And then you start thinking like nothing good's ever going to happen for me. I'm not entitled to nice things in my life. It's always my fault. The world's out to get me. All of these things control you, and you bring them on, right? And and people need to see that they can change, that they can live with
what you just said there too. I have to say something, man. You said you bring them on. That was an eye opener for me, and that's a tough thing for a lot of people to accept, because people that I've encountered, that I've worked with, their programming, their mindset is always looking for something else to blame, another person, this demon, this devil. They're blaming that. And it's like, no, you need to look at how you're thinking, how you're speaking, your actions, and see that you're bringing on, you're reflecting, you're attracting those very things, And I'll give just a quick example. I had a friend that told me that, oh man, people are always doing this to me and that to me. And I really won't get into too much detail, but it seems like the same scenario keeps playing out. And I said, don't you notice that? I said, you're attracting that same scenario, and it's drawing anger and resentment out of you. And you're telling the universe, or whatever, you believe in, God, whatever, you're telling them with that energy, with your words, this is what I want more of. And that's why you're getting that. And people he still didn't get it yet. But the thing is, I planted that seed, because there were certain things that I didn't get. I'm not trying to say that I get everything even now, but I get a lot more than I used to. But I planted that seed. So it's going to swirl around in that mind of his, what I said, even though he doesn't believe it or get it right now.
Someday he will. And the key to it is you have to see it,
right,
and realize that it's happening. Because if we don't, then it just rolls over us and we get consumed and we spiral down, right? But as soon as we start noticing things, then we're like, hold on a sec.
Yes, right.
This keeps happening. Why does it keep happening? My dad had a wonderful saying, and, I never got it until I started therapy. So he had this wonderful saying: you run with them, you howl with them.
You run with them, you
howl with them.
Howl with them.
Right? So
yes, like a wolf.
So you're either in or you're out. So when I stopped playing music, because I had to stop playing in bars, I've been sober for 8 years because I was feeding my depression a depressant. Right? Thank you. So I had to stop going to the places that I was going to, because it was leading me down the road. Right. And so it took me a long time to realize this, because I grew up in a musician lifestyle. This is what I was supposed to do.
Party
Supposed
lifestyle,
to drink,
musician.
to party.
Rock star.
It's the way it is, right? Like, yeah,
Right.
like this is who I'm supposed to be. So when I quit playing and I quit drinking, I went into my therapist and I said, I got no friends. Everybody's gone, right? And she was like, oh no, those people, they're still at the bar.
Right.
And they will be more than happy to welcome you back. But the truth is that you've changed. You don't howl, you don't run with them anymore.
You don't vibrate on that same frequency anymore.
Yeah, the only thing you lost was a common ground. You're up here now, and they're down here. And the longer that you stay up here, you're going to find more people that are the same as you. And you're going to have new friends. You're going to meet new people. You're going to share common experiences, and it's going to feel good. So you just got to give it time, right? So I learned to run and to howl with a whole new group of people.
Yes.
And guess what? I finally got what my dad was saying.
Right.
You run
See,
with
he planted that
someone,
seed. He planted that seed at the time, and you didn't understand it.
Yeah.
But it was in there. It was in that mind, that subconscious mind, and life had a way of taking you through what you had to go through to make it make sense. And now you understand it. And I have to say this again. And it's only because you're being authentic and telling your story. And I couldn't make this up. But people that have been following me, they know this. I used to create like mainstream hip hop, and I was in that same circle. And the drinking, the partying, the girls, and all that stuff. And when I started my transformation and self-help and going to see the therapist and just reaching towards my higher self, all that fell away too. And like your therapist said, they didn't go anywhere. They're still there. Unless they're growing too. I mean, I don't know it right now, but hopefully they are. But yeah. But yeah, I changed. So we don't have any common ground anymore. We're not sending out the same, we're not vibing on the same level anymore. So
exactly. Yeah, it's all about change, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, and they would welcome you back, man. Like, could you imagine?
Of course. Come on back.
Yeah, come on. Like,
here, smoke this, drink this.
a really good friend of mine, author, she said to me, Darcy, have you ever heard of the crab bucket? And I'm like, no, what do you mean crab bucket? She's like, when you get a bunch of crabs, you put them in a bucket, and one tries to get out, another one will grab that crab and try to pull it back into the bucket.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So, sometimes when we're bettering ourselves, the old parts that are down here, they'll be more than happy to try and bring you down as you're ascending.
Right.
Because they don't like when people leave their tribe. They don't like when people aren't howling with them anymore.
Oh,
and they
believe
don't
me.
They don't like to see people better themselves.
Believe me, I've been fortunate enough. And I say this is fortunate because I'm able to share this as a testimony now. That's why I say fortunate to have heard a few of the voices from back there saying, he thinks he's a preacher now. It's like, what I'm doing has nothing to do with being a preacher, because they don't understand and they don't want to. So from their vantage point, that's what I'm doing. I'm being a preacher now. So just bettering myself up here, which is trickling down to everywhere else.
That's right.
Has nothing to do with me being a preacher. Sharing my following my passion. It's nothing to do with that. Not saying anything's wrong with being a preacher, but that's how they labeled it. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
All you're doing is
he's a righteous preacher now. Okay. I can take that.
You're helping people, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? If that's a bad thing, then I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Same here.
Because it feels good, man.
Yeah, right. You
Yeah.
and the thing is, without you even speaking, you have a certain glow about yourself that I bet you didn't have before.
Oh no. Yeah. It was not there.
A certain lightness, and um, um, loving, comfortable energy that you have about your presence that I guarantee you didn't have before. Neither did I.
I was just going to say you as well, man.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of this smiling here is because I'm in a place where I'm enjoying my life. Not saying I don't still go through some adversities, but like you said, I'm better equipped to flow through those adversities now. And I know I have a mindset, just like I said at the beginning of the segment, everything is unfolding perfectly and everything is happening for my highest good. So no matter what goes on now. So, and that's why I smile a lot more. Before I had a permanent, that look on my face, and it went along with the character that I was portraying when I was doing my music. So, but it feels a lot better doing this.
So, like, isn't it nice to wake up in the morning and be excited about living?
Right. Yes.
Right. Exactly. To like wake up and go, I can't wait to start my day, as opposed to, man, this is going to happen.
Yeah. Here we go again.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Here we go again. Isn't it nice to wake up and just be like,
beautiful. Yeah. And I want to elaborate on another thing now, with your creative writing. And I just want to say this in general, that writing, and just for the people out there, and this too, it's just, there's something so powerful about it. Just writing down your own thoughts and reading that. It's something, I don't know exactly what it is. There's somebody that maybe you could explain it better, or somebody that's professional in that field that can explain it on a quantum level or whatever it is. But there's something powerful about writing goals down, writing your feelings down, writing your pros and cons, or whatever it is. Because I write, not in your way, but I write down my affirmations every morning and every night. Yes. My gratitude.
Yes. So affirmations are one of the things that I teach in my creative writing class.
Right.
Now, here's the thing with writing. When you write, you have no choice but to be in that moment. Right. And I'm not talking on a computer. I'm talking with pen and paper.
Yes.
When you make that A, when you make that B, when you make that letter.
Yeah. Every morning. I have my morning future gratitude and my evening present gratitude. Yeah. But like you were saying, when you make that letter,
you make that word, when you make that paragraph, you have no choice but to be in that moment. Your mind cannot be anywhere else. So like when I'm teaching people to write their own guided meditations, it's amazing because as you're writing out the meditation, the place you want to go to, you visualize it in your mind. You go there, right? So we start adding up all the good things in our lives with gratitude journaling. We go there, we feel it, right? If we write down, this is the funnest thing. If we write down that, I'm going to sit, breathe deeply, and relax my shoulders. It happens. You just do it. If you write down, one of my affirmations, which is my favorite one, is I am not afraid to be myself. So I was teaching this class, and people, like, you can Google up positive affirmations and get thousands of them. And unless you believe them, they're not real. Unless they have meaning to you, they're not real. So I was teaching this class, and I said, I'm not afraid to be myself. And I wrote the why. Right? A lady raised her hand after I was finished. She said, when you're writing affirmations, you're not supposed to include the word not or afraid in it, because it means that you are afraid. And I'm like, well, no, that's not true. And at all, and you're overanalyzing it and reading into things that aren't real. And she was like, no. So anyways, I went home, and anybody who is listening can do this as well. If you Google, I'm not afraid to be myself, and hit images, a picture of Muhammad Ali is going to come up on your screen.
Yeah.
And that was one of his affirmations. The greatest role model, in my opinion,
Right.
has ever lived,
Right.
had that affirmation. And how did Muhammad Ali achieve everything in his life?
Right.
He was not afraid to
Right.
be himself.
And he really wasn't. When you look at his old footage or him even being in the media, he did not hold back, especially during the time he grew up in, when it was a lot more blatant tension, and you understand what I'm saying. But
I know exactly what you're saying. That's what makes him so great.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, like you said, the power of written word, I believe, is probably the most powerful tool that anyone can learn to use. And it's so simple.
Right.
And it's right there for everyone, right? Pen, paper, you're at it.
Yes. And you can't say too much about writing, because it's like something that has been, people from long ago were doing that. So it's just some kind of, I don't really want to say primitive, but it's just something that's just classic, that it's always going to have a certain power about putting that pencil or that pen to that paper and moving that and with your thoughts into it. And that there's something that has always been, and it always will be.
Powerful.
So yes. So how can people connect with you in regards to this writing? Can they connect with you via social media any kind of way? Do you still?
Yeah, so I am on Facebook.
Okay.
And I have a website, darcypatrick.com. Real simple. You can go on there. You can read about all my books. It'll have, follow me on Facebook or Instagram links as well. And you can email me. There's a contact page as well, where you can email me. And when I say I'm always open to talking with people, man, I mean it. Like, I have people message me all the time on Facebook asking questions. I'm always here, because that's why I do what I do, and why it's successful is because I'm just being me. And if you want to talk, yeah, man, message me.
Right. And I appreciate that so much. So I just wanted to make sure that when they go on your website, or I go on your website, I will see a list of all your books as well, and be able to click some links and order your book.
Absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to make sure, because if not, I was going to say that I will add each link. Even if I take the time to do it, I'll be willing to do it. Each link to each book, I'll put it in the description. But if they can just go right to your website and do that, then that's even better. And I believe you sent me that link, so I'm going to add that to the description of the video, so that people can, when they watch this video, they can go in the description, read your entire bio, and be able to click right onto your website. And I encourage people to order those books that he's written from such a special, authentic place. That, such a blessing, and just extraordinary person that has learned to use his adversities as a powerful tool to enlighten and inspire people. And I think that, like I said before, and I'll keep saying it, that will never play out and get old. Never. We all need inspiration, guidance, and especially from people like yourself, that has been through, the depths, and has learned how to swim up to the surface. And it's just beautiful. And I want to thank you very much, Darcy. And before we conclude this segment, you have any last words and ideas, or anything you would like to say?
I always like to end whenever I talk. I always like to say, only with open conversation can we break the stigma behind mental health and depression. So let's start talking and let's do it together. No one is ever alone.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for watching. And I don't even want to say I hope. I know that this is going to touch so many people and excite so many people and inspire and motivate so many people, because I'm just me here talking to Darcy. It's just, man, it's just giving me just so much energy and so much just wow. I'm going to sleep well tonight. Let's put it that way. So thank you
Beautiful.
very much, Darcy. I will see you soon. And just peace, love, happiness, abundance. I know you're going to continue to just prosper in everything you do. And thank you for just being an advocate for mental health and just being an inspirer and a role model in regards to just growth and inspiration. Just thank you very much. I appreciate you. And I'll see you soon. Enlightened, empowered, evolved.